and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on.
I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where telling the truth felt like it might actually cause more harm than good? Or maybe you felt really burdened by a responsibility, feeling like you're the only one who can possibly carry the load.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are tough spots to be in. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Today, we're taking a close look at a series of, interconnected moments. They really pull back the curtain on the complex dynamics of communication, the sheer weight of responsibility sometimes, and the often unforeseen consequences of our choices, big ones and small ones.
Right. And we've gathered some fascinating sources for this. They offer a window into two quite distinct, yet, deeply human stories. Our mission, really, in this deep dive is to pull out the core insights from these interactions.
We'll be exploring those tensions, won't we? Between, say, protecting loved ones and being truly open, and the challenges of leadership, delegation.
Exactly. And also that fascinating interplay of altruism, obligation, and crucially personal boundaries.
Yeah.
So get ready to uncover some maybe surprising wisdom hidden in these everyday dramas.
Okay, let's jump right into our first scenario then. It's a simmering family conflict. We have Susan, and she's clearly deeply troubled by something Amber said to Neil.
Mm-hmm. She says it's been running through her head all weekend. You can really feel how much it's affected her.
Absolutely. She's visibly upset, asking Neil, who does she think she is? But here's the real kicker for Susan. The added sting, perhaps. She heard about it from Clary, not from Neil himself.
Oof. Yeah. That immediately signals that feeling of being left out, doesn't it? And hurt, naturally.
Yeah.
And Neil's response is, well, it's an attempt to manage things by downplaying it.
Right. He tries to rationalize his silence, saying Amber was only saying what George has said to her about us.
Mm-hmm.
His main goal seems to be just stopping it escalating further.
Yeah, damage control. He wants to put it out of his head and, crucially, not lash out. He genuinely seems to believe it won't end in peace if this anger keeps spreading.
And he tells Susan his motive, too. He says, didn't want you hurt by any of this. So he's trying to shield her.
But in doing that, he's kind of, creating a different sort of hurt, isn't he? By keeping her in the dark. It's that classic protection paradox.
Exactly. And Susan, she's having none of that protective silence. Her need for the truth is, wow, it's passionate. She hits back with, we're supposed to share.
A powerful statement about partnership. She's asserting her right, really, to know and to talk about the difficult stuff.
Yeah, she challenges his decision to, as she puts it, decide whether or not I'm up to talking about stuff. Her need to talk is so strong, she actually threatens to go see Emma if Neil won't engage with her on this. She needs that conversation.
That just throws that tension into sharp relief, doesn't it? The protective instinct versus personal autonomy in a relationship.
Susan.
Lyra feels withholding information, even if it's meant well, it undermines her agency, her right to choose how she deals with things.
Which leads us right to the Emma dilemma. This feels pivotal. Despite Neil specifically asking her not to, Susan decides she's going to tell Emma.
And her justification is interesting. She says Emma has a right to know and to hear it from us rather than from someone else. The idea being Emma can be prepared, avoid hearing some garbled version secondhand.
Makes sense from her perspective, but Neil's reaction, his anxiety is just palpable. He's immediately worried Emma will talk to George.
Right, and that George will then hit back, and the whole thing spirals, becomes out of our hands. It shows how interconnected these relationships are and how fragile the peace feels.
And he also expresses this deep frustration, doesn't he? Lamenting George taking more notice of her, meaning Amber, who he's known 5 minutes, than he does of his own granddad, Neil, known all his life, who he feels George ought to show some respect to.
You really hear the history there, those long-standing family frictions bubbling up. But what's truly profound, I think, is Neil's biggest worry. It isn't just this immediate spat.
No, it's deeper. It's his dread about the day he's released, meaning George from prison. He says, the day he walks out of that prison, because I could see all this getting worse, the arguments, the accusations, all the hurt.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And he questions himself, is that selfish of me, Neil? Is it unkind of me?
Yeah.
This reveals so much, doesn't it? The deep emotional toll of unresolved family issues. how the past casts this long, dark shadow.
Definitely. It shows how attempts to control someone else's pain, even with good intentions, can actually backfire. It can erode trust.
Yeah, erode trust and agency, creating new kinds of hurt instead.
So what does this mean for us listening to this? It really makes you think about that fine line, doesn't it? Between protecting someone and being transparent in our closest relationships.
Absolutely. When is it genuinely shielding, and when is it actually withholding something they need or deserve to face themselves?
It's such a tricky balance, and often, like you said, the path we choose reflects our own fears, our own past experiences.
A decision meant to protect can end up being a barrier to real connection.
Okay, so from those really delicate family dynamics, let's shift gears a bit. We're moving to another kind of burden. The weight of community leadership.
Right. Our next scenario centers on Linda, and she's grappling with what sounds like a double burden. She feels this considerable responsibility for the village fête.
She calls it an unwieldy beast. That says a lot. And she feels it requires skill and experience that, in her words, can't be passed on. That sounds isolating.
It does. And on top of that huge task, she also chairs the cricket club, which apparently also demands a lot of input, especially because they've had some recent losses.
So she's stretched thin. She admits feeling torn between these two major commitments.
Linda really embodies that challenge of community leadership, doesn't she? Where passion meets these, well, often overwhelming and maybe thankless demands.
Yeah, you can feel the pressure. And it's clear she's trying to find help. She's on a recruitment drive, as the source puts it, looking for a second in command, a lieutenant, she says, someone to help bear the load for the fête.
She's acknowledging she can't do it all alone, even though she clearly cares deeply about making the feat a success. And this is where Azra comes in.
Right. And Azra's response is just, wow. It's a masterclass in setting clear boundaries. Linda approaches her, praises her efficiency, her brightness, how she connects with people.
Even mentions she ran the bookstore perfectly last year, laying it on a bit thick maybe, trying to butter her up for the ask.
Seems like it. But Azra has this immediate epiphany, a moment of clarity, and her refusal is instant and decisive. I'm not doing this.
Just like that. No hesitation. She is, as the source says, adamant, firmly refusing not just the bookstore role, but the whole massive fête job.
It's quite a powerful moment, isn't it? Saying no so clearly when the pressure's on.
It really is. Azra's no is more than just refusal. It's a potent reminder that our value isn't tied to saying yes to every single request or burden.
That's a great point. Sometimes saying no is actually about self-preservation, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's often clearer and kinder in the long run than a resentful yes. But just as Linda faces this rejection, there's a twist.
Yes. Aram steps up. He volunteers to help Linda with the fête. Unexpected.
And his motivation is crystal clear and very personal. He says, "I won't forget what you did for me and my family."
Referring to the home Linda provided when the sewage struck, a past kindness being repaid.
Exactly. He explicitly says, "Here's my chance to say thank you in deeds, not words." It highlights that altruistic side of community driven by genuine gratitude.
It's a really touching motivation. But then enter Azra again, bringing a hefty dose of skepticism.
Right, the voice of caution, perhaps. She immediately warns Aram about Linda.
She says Linda can steamroller you, calls Aram an unpaid servant.
Ouch. And some poor creature who hasn't got the courage to stand up to Linda. Pretty harsh.
Very. She warns him Linda will demand every waking hour and hit him with a great list of jobs. Such a stark contrast to Aram's initial, optimistic volunteering spirit.
It really sets up this conflict, doesn't it? Aram's hopeful perspective versus Azra's cynical, perhaps realistic warning. Aram sees it as responding to someone's need, giving something to the community. He believes it won't be like that.
But Azra's warnings clearly get under his skin. The whole segment ends with his worried question to her. Azra, what have I done?
And that really puts the spotlight on the nature of volunteering and obligation. Gratitude is noble, right? But is it enough?
Is it a sustainable foundation for what sounds like a really demanding long-term commitment?
Especially if, as Azra implies, personal boundaries aren't clearly drawn right from the start. That's the potential pitfall.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've really explored how communication, or the lack of it, personal boundaries, and our sense of duty all play out in these quite challenging situations.
We saw the struggle within families, didn't we? How trying to manage conflict or protect someone can, unintentionally cause more hurt.
And then we saw the burden of leadership in a community context, the pressure, and those surprising ways people step up, driven by gratitude, like Aram.
Or choose not to step up, like Azra, prioritizing her own boundaries. It reveals so much about the complex reasons behind our actions and highlights just how vital setting those clear boundaries really is.
So here's something to think about. In life, we often face that choice, don't we? Between the maybe easier path of avoidance, just letting things go, or the difficult road of direct engagement, of confrontation.
Right. When is it genuinely better to try and let things blow over, as Neil wanted to?
And when is it essential to confront those difficult truths, both for ourselves and maybe for the people we care about?
And adding to that, what responsibilities do we truly owe? Not just to others, our families, or communities, but also, crucially, to ourselves, especially when we're faced with overwhelming demands or the expectations of others.
That's a lot to mull over, isn't it?
It definitely is. We invite you to continue your own deep dive into these questions.
So, what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So, what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the archers. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the ball bar. That's,
This one.
yep. That's.
Hayley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever